Management in Business is a transformational program that meets new and experienced leaders where they are to accelerate their careers and transform their organizations.
Audio, and police were able to determine 5 gunshots were fired. Video also captured the dark-colored sedan. The vehicle can be seen driving to a dead end before turning around, and the car would remain there with the headlights off for 30 seconds before driving away. This was where the body was found or left. An autopsy was conducted on the 14-year-old girl who ran away from home 10 days before she was killed, and she was identified as Alexia Alexander. Investigators interviewed her family, learning she had a phone, but she kept it hidden from her mother and nobody knew the number. But they did say she recently called 911. Investigators looked into a call discovered from an 813 number from back in April, where she contacted the police department alleging a group of people were trying to start a fight with her. Police responded to the scene and transported her home. A search warrant for her cell phone was sent to T-Mobile, and her location history would reveal the phone was in the area she was murdered around the time that it happened. The phone would remain active for another 24 hours after her death. Surveillance video and phone locations would trace the vehicle leaving the scene, confirming the phone was inside of the vehicle. Approximately 12 hours after her death, the phone's location was in the area of Tampa's General Hospital, and the hospital's cameras would capture the suspected vehicle. A black Ford Fusion could be seen entering and exiting the property at times consistent with the phone's locations. The vehicle was registered to Ronnie Tremor Walker, who was released from prison in November of 2021. This was his 6th time in prison, with his first stint dating back to 1995 when he was only 17 years old. In total, he'd done 18 years inside of prison for 21 different felony convictions, including manslaughter. Investigators pulled into a car dealership Ronnie was employed at, locating the Ford Fusion parked at the business. Ronnie provided investigators with a sworn statement, claiming on the night of the murder he loaned his car to a friend he knew as Q. He consented to a search of his vehicle and his phone, telling investigators he'd gotten a new phone and new number since the date of the murder. He claimed an argument with his girlfriend caused him to break his phone and throw it into a body of water, but he'd provide his old phone number and advised he'd been using his girlfriend's phone. Investigators made contact with his girlfriend, Erica Sweet, who confirmed he had access to her phone. Investigators showed her a picture of the 14-year-old victim, but she denied knowing the girl. Ronnie's vehicle was impounded pending a search warrant, and upon authorization, the professionals went to work. Located on the interior door jamb of the rear driver's side door, a substance tested positive for blood. A forensic spray was used within the vehicle that illuminates blue when detecting blood, causing a reaction on the rear door, front driver's door switches, and front passenger side door. GPS locations would reveal 20 minutes after the murder, Ronnie drove to a gas station where he could be seen on camera pumping his gas. While at the pumps, an unknown black male exits the front passenger seat momentarily before getting back in. Retracing the girl's GPS coordinates and checking every house or business for surveillance footage, Alexia can be seen a block away from where Ronnie lives, walking, before getting into Ronnie's vehicle. 10 days after the murder, investigators decided to interview Ronnie's girlfriend. Erica stated the night leading up to the murder she went to sleep between 8 and 9 p.m. She was unsure what time Ronnie came home, but when she woke up at 6 a.m., he was in bed. Only 26 minutes after the murder, 4 calls were shown on Erica's call log, and she claimed they were made when she was asleep. GPS coordinates show her phone traveled the same path as the victim's phone before, during, and after the time of the murder. A month later, law enforcement received the results from the DNA found within the vehicle, and it came back from a mixture of 3 sources: Alexia, Ronnie, and an unidentified person. Based on these findings, the GPS coordinates, and surveillance video, Ronnie Walker was arrested and charged with first-degree premeditated murder with a firearm, but the question is, will it stick? While the 44-year-old convict has an extensive criminal history, the only thing evidence points to is he was present during the murder and is most likely withholding information. Premeditation seems unlikely without reason, leaving the question, what would cause a grown man to murder a runaway teen. A press conference announcing Ronnie's arrest would include Alexia's mother, Ashley, who tearfully praised the police for taking him off the streets. Another woman would share her story of when she was 9 years old and she saw Ronnie shoot her mother in the head. Back in October of 2003, Ronnie walked into a home armed with a handgun as a man and a 9-year-old girl sat in the living room. Ronnie held his finger over his lips, silently telling them to be quiet as he removed the man's wallet before asking him where the rest of the money was. Ronnie asked who else was in the home, and the man said his girlfriend was in the bedroom. Ronnie then grabbed the man around the neck with one arm and the 9-year-old girl with the other as he dragged them into the bedroom with the gun aimed at the man's head. The girlfriend began screaming, Ronnie becoming agitated and the boyfriend telling her to be quiet when Ronnie pointed the gun at her, telling her to shut up. She hysterically continued when Ronnie said, "I'm not going to tell you to shut up no more." That's when he shot her in the head and she went silent. Ronnie then turned to the man as he pointed the gun at the 9-year-old girl and said, "You have to the count of 3 to tell me where the money is." The little girl started panicking, and that's when Ronnie knelt down and kissed her on the forehead, saying, "I'm not going to shoot you because I have a daughter myself." The botched robbery would end with the man attempting to grab the gun and Ronnie running from the home. Ronnie would be identified by anonymous sources and eventually a photo, but the case would go cold due to lack of evidence. In February of 2009, he'd be tried for murder, armed burglary, and armed robbery, but a mistrial was declared.
Hello guys, welcome to the Bespoke Program YouTube channel. My name is Mads and I have
The second trial seemed to be falling apart as the victim recalled a scar that didn't match Ronnie's face, and even though Ronnie told the little girl he wouldn't shoot her because he had a daughter, Ronnie was the father of 2 boys, and 2 boys only. The jury found Ronnie guilty of manslaughter, armed burglary, and armed robbery, in which he was sentenced to life, but an appeal would reduce his sentence to 8 years, and a probation violation would send him back for another 4. While the evidence in his original case seemed flawed, and the evidence in this case doesn't seem definite, the chances of a man being accused of murders 19 years apart seems unlikely. And investigators will most likely be taking as much time as needed to secure the most devastating conviction that they can. At this time, Ronnie Walker faces the possibility of death under Florida law. Now, I dove into the flaws within his previous case, and I can already see the flaws in this case. It seems, in my opinion, definite that he had some type of involvement due to the fact that they have him on surveillance video, they have him in the location, the girl's phone GPS coordinates traveled with him after the murder, was there during the murder, before the murder. It seems definite that he was there when it happened. Sounds like the girl was shot inside of the car, thrown out of the car, and shot again, and left dead in the fucking field. Blood came back, or DNA came back, from her, him, and an unidentified man. And I'm assuming it's the same unidentified man he can be seen at the gas station with 20 minutes after the murder. He's unidentified because he doesn't have a criminal history, so his DNA does not pop up. And Ronnie obviously isn't saying who he is. The fact that he's withholding information is not a good sign. His girlfriend, who could be completely innocent, may also be withholding information. But just because you're not talking, and just because you were there when somebody was killed, doesn't mean they can convict you of murder. And that's the craziest part about this case. He was sentenced to life originally for shooting a woman in the head. They had no DNA proof it was him. They had nothing other than the word on the street saying it was someone named Ron. And the male witness pointed him out in a picture, but misidentified a scar on his face, confusing it with acne spots or something of that nature, to which the second case was almost thrown out. And we have to think about it. If Ronnie, who most likely didn't have the money for a fucking good lawyer, had a good lawyer, there's a possibility he could have beat that murder case that caused him to spend the majority of his adult life in prison. But at the same time, it is not common for someone to be accused of 2 different murders in 19 years. It does not make much sense. People don't just slip, fall, and get charged with murder. Similar with sex crimes. You don't just slip, fall, and get hit with a fucking sex crime. Which is why so many people assume guilt immediately. But it's crazy because this case does not sound definite. They found the DNA. They never found a gun. By the time they reached him, it was too late to do a gunshot residue test on his hand, so they don't know if he fired a weapon. They don't know if the other random guy that was in the vehicle is the one that actually committed the murder, which would mean Ronnie is an accessory to commit murder. They dumped the body, whatever, but we don't know. And without being able to say actually who killed who, how the fuck are you able to even hit him with an accessory? Which leaves the possibility of him beating this case, in my opinion. And that would be fucking devastating, knowing that a 14-year-old girl's mother is not going to get justice. That possibilities. Why would she be getting in the car with a random person? Why would she be hiding her cell phone from her mother? Why would she be running away? How would she be able to take care of herself without money and an income? Was she just trying to get a ride that night? It doesn't sound like there's any previous history that the two of them had, but she was walking within a block of where he lived. Were they communicating prior to what took place? Was that the reason why he made it a point to take her phone? I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm just going to have to update you as the case progresses. But hey, leave y'all thoughts and comments in the comment section. It's 1090 Jake. I'm rocking with Charlie. Y'all rocking with me. Till next time.
That was crazy. No lie. It's crazy. Sad.